It was supposed to be a simple family dream, a vacation home, a place for all of us to escape. But the moment I found out my parents had used my $900,000 inheritance to buy it and then banned me from visiting because, and I quote, "It's our private space now," something inside me snapped. Little did they know, I had a plan that would turn their perfect paradise into a prison of regret. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted, especially family, hit that subscribe button right now. Like this video, comment your thoughts, and stay with me as I take you through a story where justice isn't just served, it's meticulously crafted. I still remember the day I got the call. My heart sank even as I tried to keep my voice steady. My parents were excited, practically bouncing with glee over their new purchase, a sprawling vacation home in the mountains. "It's perfect," my mom gushed. "We finally did it." And then came the punch. "But, sweetheart," she added with a carefully casual smile, "it's our private space now. You won't be visiting much anymore." I froze. Every word echoed in my head. I couldn't breathe for a moment. My $900,000 inheritance, the very money that was supposed to secure my future, had been spent, gone. And now I was being told I had no right to step foot in the place it had bought. The betrayal stung deeper than I could have imagined. My parents, people who had promised to nurture me, guide me, protect me, had not just taken my inheritance. They had flaunted it, turned it into a symbol of their privilege, and then locked me out of it like an unwelcome guest. The first days were a blur. Anger, disbelief, frustration, they washed over me in waves. I'd lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing with scenarios of confrontation, shouting, or even leaving everything behind. But as the days turned into weeks, something shifted. I realized that sheer anger would get me nowhere. Revenge, if it was going to be truly satisfying, needed precision, patience, and strategy. I began by observing. Every story has its pattern, and every house has its vulnerabilities. My parents were meticulous, controlling, obsessed with appearances. They wanted to show the world a perfect life, the vacation home, the parties, the Instagram photos, the neighborhood gossip. And they assumed that money and age gave them invincibility. But no one is invincible, not when you know exactly where to strike. I spent weeks mapping out their routines, which rooms they favored, what time they usually returned from errands, when the house would be empty. I dug into every public record, every property document. And yes, I had insider knowledge that gave me an edge. I wasn't just planning to visit, I was planning to make them realize, in a way they couldn't ignore, exactly who had given them the means to live that dream in the first place. The real twist came when I realized that the home itself, grand, sprawling, filled with modern luxuries, was built on my inheritance. Yes, but operated under their rules. Or so they thought. The house, the decor, even the utilities, they were my parents' dream. But I held the secret key. My knowledge of the finances, the legal intricacies, and their dependence on the property's tax and insurance structures. I remember the night I decided to act. It was raining heavily. The mountains glistened in the streetlights, almost mocking me with their beauty. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. The plan wasn't cruel, it was poetic. And it needed to be perfect. Step 1. The invitation. I sent a casual message to my parents, something like, "Hey, just thinking of stopping by this weekend. Haven't seen the house in a while. Hope that's okay." The response was predictable. My mother's text was polite but firm. "We've settled in now. It's our private space. We'd prefer you didn't come." Perfect, just as I expected. Step 2. Leverage. I called a lawyer I'd consulted months earlier, someone who specialized in property rights and inheritance law. Without getting too technical, let's just say I had options they hadn't anticipated. I knew that while the house was technically in their name, the funds and contracts behind its purchase left me with subtle but undeniable leverage. I didn't even need to litigate. I just needed to make them see that the castle they'd built on my money could be, metaphorically speaking, a glass house. Step 3. Psychological setup. I started small text messages with innocent questions about the house, social media tags, casual calls asking if they needed advice on utilities, security, or landscaping. Every time, I phrased it as concern, not confrontation. But every interaction reminded them, subconsciously, that this house wasn't a standalone triumph. It was a triumph built on my sacrifice, my money, and their audacity to cut me out. Meanwhile, I quietly arranged for a few strategic visits, not for me yet, but for the auditors, the local inspection officials, and anyone who could validate the fact that certain financial obligations like property tax and maintenance fees were technically under my influence, if not direct ownership. I wasn't breaking any laws. I wasn't trespassing. I was using the system, the rules, and their overconfidence against them. Weeks later, the moment arrived. It was a sunny Saturday, the house gleaming under the mountain sun. I walked in not as a trespasser, not as a guest, but as the invisible hand behind their dream. I had arranged for a surprise inspection, something mundane on paper, a compliance check for utilities and tax records. But the timing was perfect. Both parents were home, chatting over coffee, smug, blissfully unaware. The inspector arrived. They asked for documents, receipts, proof of payment, everything I had already prepped. My parents fumbled, panicked slightly as the reality set in. Certain private aspects of the home couldn't be legally ignored. They were dependent, in small but significant ways, on the very person they had banned, me. I watched from the sidelines, calm, collected, as the tension grew. My mother's smile faded. My father's bravado wavered. The house that had been a fortress of exclusion now felt like a gilded cage. Their dreams, financed by my sacrifice, were no longer untouchable. And in that moment, I didn't need to raise my voice. Every glance, every careful word from the inspectors, every subtle reminder that the foundation of their paradise was mine, it spoke volumes. When they finally realized the implications, I approached, slowly, smiling politely. "I hope everything's in order," I said softly, letting the weight of the situation sink in. "It's a beautiful house. Must be nice, living in a place you technically don't fully own." Their faces went pale. Anger, fear, and disbelief collided in one expression. My mother's voice trembled. We didn't know." I let the words hang. No yelling, no accusations, just calm, precise truth. "I understand," I continued, "but maybe next time you'll remember that excluding someone from what they built doesn't erase the reality of what they contributed. It just changes the perspective." I left then, watching them process the humiliation. No screaming, no confrontation. The house, their dream, had quietly turned into a lesson in respect and acknowledgement. And for me, the vindication was perfect. No pyrotechnics, no scandal, just truth, served in full. For the first time in months, I slept peacefully that night. The tension that had weighed on my shoulders lifted. I didn't feel triumphant in a petty way. I felt validated. Every ounce of betrayal, frustration, and sleepless planning had culminated in a moment that was perfectly fair, perfectly satisfying, and perfectly mine. The next time they called, their tone was different. Humble, cautious, aware. They hadn't apologized in words, but the change in their behavior said it all. I had shown them, without breaking a single law, without stooping to cruelty, that they couldn't erase my existence or my contributions, that I was not powerless. And that, I realized, was the most important lesson of all. Revenge isn't about ruin. It's about reclaiming dignity, asserting boundaries, and proving, first to yourself and then to the world, that you matter. Some people say family betrayals are unforgivable. I don't know about forgiveness, but I know this. Justice, even subtle and measured, is deeply satisfying. You don't need chaos. You just need clarity, strategy, and patience. If you loved the story, hit like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. Have you ever been underestimated or betrayed by someone close? How did you handle it? I want to hear your stories, and remember, sometimes the sweetest revenge is simply showing the world and them exactly who you are.